Everything we know, the entire universe, might just be a simulation running inside a supercomputer. In this dream world of the imagination, anything is possible. Join us on the Simulationist podcast as we explore our culture of simulations.
Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Simulationist podcast. This is the 199th iteration of the show, recorded on the 27th?
Yes. It's a little late on the 27th, but on the 27th.
Of June 2016. And that other voice helping me out with the introduction is...
Date Master Ryan Kirkby.
Hey, Ryan. I'm Josh Shalevin.
You are host extraordinaire in this case.
Host extraordinaire. I think we're kind of both co-hosts, to be honest. And
well, the equipment's yours, so I guess you get higher...
I'll call myself the producer.
Okay. But if we got billing, you get top billing, because, I mean, you have put in more.
Yeah, I've done producer... I'm the producer and editor, and...
You also supply the electronics.
Marketing manager and social media guy. No, you do some social media. So
I'm just the talking monkey, man. That's my unofficial...
That's what I don't pay you for.
Exactly. So yeah, how you been doing this week?
I've been good. I've been great. I've been good. I did Roll for Initiative on Saturday.
How was Roll for Initiative this week?
I got to Dungeon Master again, so that was super fun.
Things went smooth, I take it?
Yeah, great group of players. It all went smoothly. We had a fun game playing time.
Excellent.
I was worried at first that I wasn't quite prepared enough, but I always worry too much, and it always turns out fine.
Well, so that's the thing, though. It's like any good Dungeon Master will be a little scared. Like, did I have enough prepared? Are things going to flow smooth? It's only the ones that approach the table with no plan and whatever. Mind you, that does work. I have had friends whereby all I needed to do was provide them with a task and then just watch as they go do their own thing instead of that task.
Yeah.
And that's all I needed. It was just like the MacGuffin, and then if they wind up playing tag with daggers, so be it for the rest of the night.
It is weird that I'll describe my DMing style, and I'll see what you think about it. But I find that players tend to go where I want them to go. Now, I don't know if I'm good at leading them by the nose, or if it's just because it's been basically one shots and they're like, well, we want to go where he wants us to go because we're going to, we only have these 4 hours, so make the best of it. Or I don't know what it is exactly about it. But yeah, players tend to seem to like... I
think it might be the difference between the one shot versus like the recurring sort of thing. If you've got recurring characters, that MacGuffin task he gave us, it's going to be there next week. What I really want to do is see if I can hit my friend with this dagger and say, you're it. And so long as you've got a cleric on hand with enough healing spells, well, then I guess you guys can do that. And I'll even reward some experience points for maiming each other in a legitimate combat.
Okay.
Not like full experience points. You progress faster by killing those goblins that you were asked to kill by like the town elders. But if you don't want to do that, you can still advance.
So here's my DMing style: is I would, if that happened, I'd be like, okay, I'll let it happen. I'll let you do that thing. But basically, townsfolk would sort of wander in on them and be like, "What the hell are you doing?" Like,
it's okay. We got healing spells.
Yeah, and I would... Basically, my method of persuasion is through embarrassment. And I guess if that didn't work, then okay.
No. The people I'm thinking of would be very hard to embarrass that way. That said, I always, do try, and provided it's not explicitly just, oh my goodness, that's desecration of a corpse, evil. Let them do what they want, fairly, consequence-free in that regard.
Okay. I'm about that. Yeah.
I do recall one cleric of death resurrecting a dragon they had killed, just to make it act like a cow in a field. In which case, I was like, I won't even call that like a blatantly evil act. I'll just call that like a crazy misdemeanor. Because it's not like he's doing anything evil with this now skeletal dragon. It's just like it's acting like a cow. That's the instruction to give it. Go in this field and act like a cow.
Okay.
So it's like, well, I'm not even going to give you evil points on that one. That's just weird. When the paladins come to slay you in the future, they're definitely going to be thrown off by that. But that's about all it'll be good for, is delaying a paladin for about 3 minutes.
Okay. Yeah. Well, since I mentioned Roll for Initiative, I might as well say off the top, if listeners are interested in that, they can check our show notes or go to rollforinitiative.ca. because we grabbed up that website. Well, I had nothing to do with it.
That's the royal we?
The royal we. We Victoria gamers, I guess. I count myself in the gaming community, so yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, our listeners and of course anybody else is free to join us. It is once a month. It costs, I think it's down to $8. Although I'll have to see. I don't know what we actually charge because as a dungeon master, I don't have to pay for a ticket because I'm yeah. So come on down, join us. Roll for Initiative in Victoria, British Columbia. Every month, check out the website and see when we're next.
For greater details and location.
That's right.
Yes, we do have a little bit of other news. This isn't the newest news, but I do think we should at least touch on it. Minecraft has come up with another update, the 1.10 update.
Oh, yeah. This is a small, quicker update.
What's the thing? Yes, like the 1.9 took forever because they were like redoing combat. And that's kind of a big thing. You got to go through all the monsters. You got to update this and that, for what hands and how everything works. And it really was kind of like a reworking of a lot of material. Whereas this one added polar bears and... Oh, wait, did they add the igloos in a previous update, or was that this one as well?
I don't know for sure, but I think this update.
Okay, so yeah, they added igloos with stuff, like spoiler alert, evil things happening around them.
Okay.
And a bunch of other little bits and pieces is what it basically added up to. And I find this to be interesting, because it shows the style of the two different kind of updates you can do on projects. It's the great big change over a long course of time, or a small little filler update. Mm-hmm. And a lot of people were really harshing up on, like, dude, why is this 1.9 taking forever? But it did set in like a big groundwork for like where you're going to have your modded community be. Most of the modded community tried to stay at the 1.7.10. Mm-hmm. I think Thelmcraft 5 was updating to the 1.8.9, and then 1.9 comes out, and now 1.10 comes out. So there is this interesting advantage of how, with the long updates, of getting that community base solidified, whereas the smaller updates means you're going to have to, get the community to roll along with you. Otherwise, a significant portion of the people that fall with the modded community will hold back and not go on to it.
Yeah, and it has something to do with the behind-the-scenes code, too, as far as the modding goes, because sometimes an update will come up and actually won't change much as far as modding requires. It's just fixing a few bugs.
Hey, there's some new blocks in here.
Some new content, which actually, it's fairly modular since it is coded in Java, but it's, new blocks is very easy to add in terms of, it doesn't change much for modding. So, but there are some updates that change, like how the world is generated, or like how we load chunks, because there's a new method of not loading chunks when you're not looking at them, which sort of improves performance, stuff like that.
Well, that was one of the big criticisms of the 1.8 version.
I think,
it was. I think the best term I ever saw was less than optimized.
Right. Okay. Yeah. So
other people just called it big old resource hogs.
If they change something big behind... I don't know if that actually affects modding too much either, but basically anything that's big behind the scenes in the way things are coded can affect modding. But sometimes an update will hardly affect modding at all.
And so you'll just be able to say, this one is compatible with, like update 1.9, 1.10, 1.11, 1.12.
I think there's always going to be some small tweaks you have to do, but it's not like you're going to have to overhaul everything.
Fingers crossed, right?
Well, every episode, everyone is going to be different. Every update is going to be a little, so you'll see what happens.
But that's the thing, it's just like people were jonesing for those other updates. It's like, this is the longest time between updates it's been longer than a year. Where's the 1.9 update?
Yeah, people wanted updates,
But it did really allow the modding community to hit some traction. That way, because if you're not worrying about an update just around the corner, then you feel more free to get going in your mod. Whereas if it's like, geez, they're going to be updating another mod in another 2 months, I don't know how much more work I'll have to do then. Maybe I'll just hold off on it, see what that one is like, and then if it winds up being another long time in between, then we'll go and I'll start working on my mod.
Yeah.
So, like, the longer time between, although a little more infuriating for some people wanting that more greater content update, it does actually give the modding community some good traction.
Yeah, I suppose. I mean, the other thing, back in 1.9, in some ways it's just like a method of numbering things they're already doing anyways, because they were releasing basically weekly snapshots for a lot of it. So it's a similar amount of development over a similar amount of time. It's just where they choose to call it a cut and say this is a released version, rather than all these.
It's the same with Dwarf Fortress, though. There'll be times when the guy will, Dwarf, Toady will see. It's like, oh, I when I did this code, like 7 years ago, like I did not have the experience I had now. I can really get a lot more going on in this one, and I can make it a lot more better and detailed, and have it actually perform even better than that. So he'll go back and he'll fix that up, and that'll delay the next release patch for a little bit longer. But the community is very understanding in that regard, because there's just one programmer. Mm-hmm. So as much as I'm sure they'd love to shoot him up with a whole bunch of caffeine and just watch him work away the days. No one wants them to have a heart attack from overwork either. Yeah. If it takes them 20 years to get this project finished, it'll take 20 years, and everyone will be happy when it finally gets released.
It does also occur to me that this is weird in terms of the history of game development, and that back in the day it used to be that they would release a game and it'd be complete, right? Especially for a console and stuff like that.
You'd have to, definitely. Yeah. I guess ideally there was even back then the occasional third-party game that would wind up bricking your Atari.
Yeah, and then by the time it's time to make a sequel, your coding has advanced so much and the hardware has advanced so much that you can't use the same code base from your original game. So
you got to start from scratch, which is why some games have been stuck in what's termed the perpetual development cycle. It takes them so long to build up. By the time they're built, it's the end of the life cycle for the consoles, and then you got to start all over again. Which is why the PC is the master race.
Yeah, and it looks like, for example, looks like there will never be a Minecraft 2, because it's always going to be, well, who knows? But
I am happy about that. Well, I'm very happy with that, because they've announced for the Clicker Heroes game I play, they're working up to Clicker Heroes 2. Mm-hmm. I might make that my cutoff. Right now they've done something called Transcendence, so instead of ascending, you transcend. It's kind of like a medium core reset. You lose a lot of stuff, but not everything. And all the work you've had, you can fuel into these other things that get you even more incredible abilities. Rawr. But I think that I might wind up making my cut when they move over to the Clicker 2, and I just let Clicker 1, just let it go. Just step back from it, man. I played it for over a year now. It's been fun, but no games forever.
Sure. Okay.
So there's a very good reason sometimes to just keep that cycle going, as opposed to making a sequel. And that's the thing. When you own this, the software for it, and you're on something like the PC. Admittedly, a majority of the people are on consoles and not PC. So when the consoles update, they're going to have to leave their game world behind. In which case, you'll see a much greater retention amongst the PCers, because they can keep playing that on their computer. And if they upgrade their computer, it's just a matter of moving some save files around, and they can keep playing it. Something that is notoriously impossible to do on many consoles. Backwards compatibility being one of the greatest issues of the console upgrades throughout the generations. Which is why I still have my classic Xbox. It's not an Xbox One. It is the first Xbox, though.
Oh, yeah.
Because my games won't upgrade along with it. C'est la vie. I like my Hulk, Rampage way too much.
Okay.
But that's the thing, though, is you do see along this new path where you have the content. Here's your base game, and then more adds in. But because of how it goes, the modding community then acts as like a second arm to this whole thing. Dwarf Fortress and Minecraft are the best examples, I think, for a community whereby the modders act, almost as the second half to the development, programmers themselves.
Yeah, true.
Which is one of the things I think people say. In other games, this would be an insult, but in stuff for like Minecraft, it's a very good appraise, saying they've created a great empty shell of a game here. And admittedly, there's not too much for purposeful things to do in Minecraft. You get this, you go to there, you defeat this boss, you get to this area, you defeat the dragon, hooray! Mm-hmm. And that's about it, right? I've seen people defeat the game from start to finish in like 11 and a half minutes.
Well, some of the mods I've seen is like I wouldn't have believed if I hadn't seen it, that people are like the gameplay in it is so intricate and so it requires to really learn and these complicated recipes and
you're talking to a guy playing the
huge
stuff.
Talent tree or tech trees or stuff like that. Depending on the different mods have their own tech trees and
sometimes competing.
Yeah. And I wouldn't have thought like a game released to the public with that kind of complexity probably wouldn't get picked up.
Well, I mean, the Civilization series is hugely popular and follows something similar.
Yeah, but even Civilization is not as complicated as if you put together.
Yeah, some of these are much more complicated than that. Yeah,
and you still but yeah, because it's mods and because people sort of get to pick and choose their own thing, it's very niche. You can have very complicated gameplay, which I think I'm glad that exists because I think that's really a really cool thing to explore.
Well, I think the complication stuff works well in Minecraft because it's really about building what you want from other pieces.
Yeah.
And if you were to try putting a mod that was that intricate in, say, Grand Theft Auto series, it would probably fall flat. People would not like it. It's too much work, too many things, too many pieces. I hate this.
Yeah, the mods I see for Grand Theft Auto are weird, like turning people into monkeys or like putting a plane on your head or something like that.
I would not mind a mod that adds monkeys or turns villagers into monkeys in Minecraft. I could go for that. But that's the thing, though, is like you got to know your audience. So the Minecraft stuff is people that want, I'm going to make something very intricate. It's going to look all beautiful and it's going to be awesome. I'm going to make it myself. And so when it comes time to making a mod, doing something that works like that definitely, hits in. It's something that works with it. Even if it would be a lot easier, like especially in cases like creating traps and all that stuff, how you have to have the redstone connecting from A to B. Whereas in Dwarf Fortress, all you have to do is use some mechanisms to hook this piece to that piece, and it doesn't matter how far away, you throw this lever and that drawbridge moves. It's convenience. Like, I would hate having to find out how to connect all them up and then just having wires hooked up from all the places in Dwarf Fortress.
Oh, yeah.
But there's clearly a demand for that sort of thing, and it's the style that makes them unique. Although I wouldn't mind a mod that does like some sort of remote or like lever switching stuff. But that's me.
Sure. Okay. What did you get? What should we go on to your what you got?
Yes. Well, unless you want to go first.
Yeah. I had one other thing. I watched the Jim Carrey film Man on the Moon.
That's the. I guess it's a biopic. Then is what the proper term is.
Well, I don't know.
The biography of
I don't know how biographical it is, but it is. It's the story of Andy Kaufman.
Comedic genius, oft misunderstood, kind of crazy.
So like he was a comedian. Like he died in 84. So
yeah, he's a '70s comedian. Did the Saturday Night Live, Taxi, so a lot of stuff in real life that wound up getting people just not under. A lot of people didn't know what to think of him, and that was really what the movie was about.
He was kind of a prankster, I would call him, but also like a showman and a real like. He liked to put on a show and surprise people and make people laugh, and it was. And this is
provided they get his joke. I mean, he was notorious for doing things that were bigger than most people would see. Because what was the lounge singer guy's name again?
His character Tony Clifton.
Yeah, he had a character called Tony Clifton, who he like insult people, not quite on the level of Andrew Dice Clay, who would come later on. But he'd sort of like do like the heckling the audience back sort of style, and just generally make himself really known for being kind of like the insulting sort of figure. And then what he did was once people knew it was Andy Kaufman, is Tony Clifton, he gave the Tony Clifton character off to someone else. So he'd be at home watching TV of Tony Clifton, and everyone's saying, "Oh God, Andy Kaufman, you're really going too far this time." But it's not Andy Kaufman. It hasn't been Andy Kaufman for a year now. And that was the joke, was everyone thinks it's him, but it's not. It's somebody else now. And so that level of scale was something that I guess not a lot of people would get, or I guess at the time even expect.
Right, yeah.
I think thanks to him, we've rather expanded our concept for, how long it takes for a joke to come to fruition. So, I think he would have been happier with today's audience than the 70s.
Yeah, probably. Would he? I think there would probably be things in the media today that he wouldn't like. But I imagine there would be, he would have more opportunities.
The media probably no. The audience probably yes.
Yeah, I imagine him doing something like YouTube or, I don't know.
Making the occasional guest appearance on Jackass and Tom Green Show.
Yeah. I could see him, appearing, same Jimmy Kimmel, Jimmy Fallon, Seth Meyers.
The late night talk show group?
Yeah.
Oh, God, I bet you he and Conan would just have hit it off, man. Conan O'Brien and him. Because Conan's the kind of guy that could get some of those longer running things too, and some of the weird stuff. I mean, for those of you who haven't always followed, Conan O'Brien, he was the guy that had a repeating character for the masturbating bear. It was a guy in a bear costume that acted like he was just masturbating in the suit. Long story short, in the final reveal as to who it was their, guest actor of the week, Jim Carrey, of all people. They took the mask off. It's Jim Carrey. It's been you all along. It wasn't him all along. It's just the person they wind up pulling out, say, I was him, sort of thing, right? Pull a Scooby on him. And so it's just, that kind of weirdness, I think, that Andy Kaufman would have appreciated, because it's very much in his spiritual style.
Probably, yeah, and I guess that's the other thing. We saw Jim Carrey obviously appreciates Andy Kaufman and studied him in order to play him in this role.
Oh, he studied deep for all accounts. He was almost spooking people.
Yeah.
Saying, oh my goodness, it's Andy Kaufman back to life. You've possessed Jim Carrey, sort of, like a vibe that people were getting.
Yeah, but I will say about this film, it was a very good film. The film itself, I think, was very well put together. I
have been told, very much a labor of love.
Yeah, it was extremely entertaining, and I was skeptical at first going in. I don't know if I'm really going to enjoy this. What?
Andy Kaufman was a little weird, and Jim Carrey can sometimes go too far. Is this going to be a movie that combines both of them in the worst possible way?
Yeah, and I thought, Andy, he's comedy from the 80s is, less sophisticated than comedy currently is.
So there's something to be said about bluntness in comedy.
Yeah.
That said, I have noticed as comedy goes on throughout the decades, it has become a little bit more rapid fire, a little bit more you got to build it on up as opposed to here's a funny thing, give a bit, here's a funny thing, and they had much greater pacing between the. I'll go from back to the black and white era sort of thing for their comedy styles there. So today's comedians oh my goodness, there's so much more rapid fire, hit you, bam bam bam, joke 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 joke.
Yeah, well, it depends. You won't find that in someone like Stuart Lee, for example.
Okay, fair enough.
He has a bit of a slower pace, depending on what he's doing. But yeah, so there are some comedians nowadays who are doing that thing. But yeah, I suppose you're probably right generally.
Comedy Now and the series like that. That's right. Comedy Now is a Canadian program. I suppose those poor people outside of Canada aren't experiencing our wonderful plethora of Canadian comedians.
That's possible. Yeah.
I am so sorry for you out there. You don't know what you're missing.
But yeah, I guess I don't know if it's not really a fiction film, although I don't think it's entirely, an accurate necessarily. I don't know what would be accurate, but I don't think it's an accurate representation necessarily. But it's pretty good.
Semi-fictional biography.
Yeah, and it does
I think the best biographies have to be at least somewhat semi-fictional.
I think so. Yeah. But yeah, it was a good. Yeah, I give it 13 dwarves out of 13.
All right. Any dragons or wizards added in there?
No. Just let me see.
Okay, because Andy Kaufman had that one bit where he would make people think that the TV's was it horizontal was shorting out?
The vertical.
The vertical, yeah. The vertical hold. I suppose for the younger audience, once upon a time, TVs were not as well structured as they are now. In which case, you could, with a little switch of a knob, you'd have the vertical hold go out, and thus the image would just cycle up. It had to do with it was not the flat screens. It'd be the old cathode rays sort of thing, is how they'd portray it. And you'd wind up. It was a lot of fun. Don't get me wrong. You just the one knob, and all of a sudden, the whole image would kind of shift and overlayer on itself, and just kind of you could get it cycling pretty fast.
I like how you're just trying to describe this in an audio format. It'd be so much easier just to demonstrate videoly.
Well, it's the thing. It's as you move, as the vertical moves, and the top of the screen disappears up top, it would appear at the bottom. So if you adjust it just a little bit and then kept it still, you'd have a thing where the people where it looked like they're kind of standing on their own heads.
Yeah. Okay.
As a kid, I had a lot of fun back in the day playing with that sort of stuff.
Playing with the knobs on the DVD.
Yeah, because that was a thing you could do, man. It was added entertainment value, right? And so, Andy Kaufman wanted to have a thing whereby that this would be intentionally broadcast that way, so people would suspect that, oh no, the vertical's going off on my TV, and they go and they try and smack it or fiddle with the knobs. It's no, he was just playing with you. It's your TV was fine all along.
Yeah, that's his idea of a joke.
Not a bad joke, provided you get it. I still think it was just a good setup. He could have delivered a good liner, figure out how long it takes before someone would get upset with their vertical and go to fix the TV, and then just scream out to something like, "Hey, don't slap that TV!" And there's, "Oh my goodness, Andy Kaufman's talking to me through my TV," and that would have been a great joke. Actually, that one would have sold. It was gold. But I would award a wizard or a dragon on your rating system if Andy Kaufman's movie had something like that happen in there, where you think there's something going wrong with the connection on your DVD player and the TV.
Well, I'll tell you. Is this a spoiler? At the beginning of the film, at least the one I watched it. Never mind how I obtained it. At the beginning of the version I watched, there was a little vignette, and Andy Kaufman says, "Thank you for watching my movie." It's Jim Carrey as Andy Kaufman.
Yes.
He's like, "Thank you for watching my movie. It's very short. I decided it would be very fun to make a very short movie. That's the end of the movie. Bye-bye now." And then it runs the whole credits, and then it fades to black, but then the movie starts after that. But if you're watching it on a DVD or YouTube or whatever, or a player that says how long the movie is, you're like, oh, this movie is obviously longer than that, so it's just
so it gets a half wizard in that case then.
We're
doing a meta joke but not really carrying it through, to some sort of and then 20 minutes later the movie really begins.
I meant if you're watching it in the theater, you'd know going in, if you knew a little bit about Andy Kaufman, you'd know, oh, okay, he does gags, and okay, so we'll just...
To be fair, I have been fooled by some very basic premises before. I will freely admit, I thought I didn't need to watch The Lion King because the commercial was 30 seconds long, and they advertised it as Disney's 40-second animated feature film, and thus I only needed to watch 10 more seconds of it to see the whole thing. So, I will admit that, depending on your age, you could get fooled on something like that.
I guess so. But if you're in a theater, you're going to see all the other people in the theater. And if you start to get up, I imagine the savvy ones will kind of laugh.
Ha ha ha, you got fooled.
I don't know. I wonder if they would actually say anything to you.
It's the Andy Kaufman joke sort of thing, so then you'd be going in with it, so maybe it'd be like, Andy Kaufman got another one, sort of.
I don't know.
As opposed to derisive, haha, you idiot, don't you know Andy Kaufman at all? You plebe.
But that's the only moment I actually remember in the film where they did that, like what you're saying, break the
fourth wall.
Break the fourth wall? Yeah.
So there wasn't a bit where it looked like oh no, there's a staticky connection, or the audio cuts out for a little bit, sort of thing.
No.
So it doesn't get a full dragon on that one, but we'll call it a half wizard, I guess. Okay.
Yeah, but I think they pay the homage to it by doing that thing at the beginning of the movie. Yeah.
To at least some basic degree. Okay. So there you go. You recommend it to everyone out there to give a watch if and when they can find it?
Well, it was the perfect movie for me to watch. Just getting into comedy as I am, it's great for if you're into the history of entertainment.
If you missed the golden days of Saturday Night Live and their brand of humor with the not ready for primetime players, then maybe, this should definitely be a thing to get into.
So it gets 100% specifically from me as a viewer, but I don't know how much, everyone would love it.
I'll admit I haven't had the opportunity to watch all of it myself, because it's like I'll be, like flipping through channels. Oh, Man on the Moon there. And so I'll go to it, and it's like, oh, no, I really should watch this from the very beginning to get the most out of it. So I guess it's on my to-watch list. It's on my watch list.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, that's that.
All right. As for me this week, my daughter confounded me twice. This week I rented 2 movies from the library. The 4th season of Legend of Korra and Men in Black 3. And Zoe's in the back seat as we're heading home, and she's got them. She holds on to them because that's kind of like her job is what she's supposed to do. And she decides they're going to have a little fake fight, and so she kind of smacks them against each other. Not hard, but until one of them falls out of her grip, and they lose. Mm-hmm. And she knew Legend of Korra. She knows Korra by sight, so I don't have to tell that one. She asked what the other one was. I tell her it's Men in Black 3. Mm-hmm. But she didn't have the name correctly fastened in her head.
Yeah.
So it was in I'm driving home, and then Korra wins the fight, and Zoe screams out, "Korra beats up Black Man," and I'm like, ooh.
I see. So she calls the Men in Black the Black Man.
Well, because it's like...
it makes sense.
From a 3-year-old's perspective, I could understand how they are the same thing, despite, how the difference it makes for you and I. So it's not something I figured I could really correct her on, because the nuances would be lost on her at this point. And then later on in this week, I had some time off, and, hey, it's a nice sunny Sunday. So we go out to play in the park, and... it's a little bit of a water park in our uptown center in wonderful Victoria here, and water shoots out of areas, kids play around with it. Don't worry, it's chlorinated, so it's not going to be skeezy water. And it's always playing around, and we have a little cup from a little sampler platter that the lady hands out. You want some iced tea, and Ren, my wife, has a thing. Oh, it's quite nice. I just brushed my teeth, and the flavor would not have mixed well. And Zoe, comes on up, and I say, here, why don't you try, and trap the water, in this cup? And by that, I showed her, by flipping the cup upside down, onto my thumb. So I was hoping that she'd try and put the cup down on the water thing. The water jet would shoot up and then be kind of like a little rocket.
So you're basically trying to punk her.
Well, that's the thing. It's just like a quick little a bottle rocket sort of thing where it sprays up and she has a little bit of fun playing in the water, right?
Yeah, and get soaked.
Well, that's the thing. It's kind of what you're supposed to do if you're playing in there, is get at least a little bit soaked.
All right.
She didn't get too soaked, but she did manage to get herself thoroughly wet, everywhere except the hair. She's very good at keeping her hair dry. I don't know how.
All right.
But she goes up there, and instead of taking my advice of literally cupping it upside down and putting it on top, she waits for the jet to shoot up, and then she collects the water as it spills down gravity-wise into the cup, and then she comes up and brings it to me, just to show me how good she's done it. And I couldn't correct her on that one either, because she was having a lot of fun, rushing around trying to find the water jet as it shoots up high enough for her to put the cup next to it and get the water as it falls back down. And so twice this week, my daughter managed to do something in an incorrect way, but in a way I couldn't rightfully correct her on. So I must admit, I don't think of it as being a bad thing by any stretch, but I do find it to be a very interesting thing that she's hit that progression point whereby she can outthink me in ways I can't call her on.
Yeah, well, I don't know if it's outthinking her. It's just the way she perceives what you're asking is you're not and not necessarily.
Well, that's the thing. With the cup, I did make sure I showed it, with my thumb. It's why don't you try and stop the water, and I showed it to effectively, cup goes on top of the water. She thought to herself, to the best of my ability, from my reading in my daughter's head, was that this is an inefficient way of trying to get water in a cup because the water won't stay in the cup. So I'll have to keep it, the right side up. How can I get water into a cup when the water's going in the opposite way? And so she was able to do some very good lateral thinking and problem solving as to how to get water into a cup when it doesn't pour out of a faucet and it comes the other way. And plus, she was having fun. And I'm going to correct a kid having fun at a little bit of a water park?
Well, that's right. I mean, yeah, let her.
I can be a bit of a jerk sometimes, and I will freely admit this. But I'm not so big of a jerk. I can say you're playing wrong. Your fun is the wrong way.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the weird. It's hard. okay, blah blah blah. Water parks are a very strange environment, especially for a young child, because at home there's very specific rules about you can't, dump water on the floor. You can't go all crazy. You can't make big messes.
That's the thing is, she was having big laughs as she'd fill up the cup, take it outside the water park, and then just sprinkle it onto the grass, and you
exactly something you
big old belly
can't
laughs.
do at home. You can't dump a glass of water all over the floor.
And this was something, she was breaking that taboo.
So I think it takes a little, because you're I don't want to say bashing this into her all the time. That's probably not.
It's an area where the rules break down.
Yeah, because most of the time you're enforcing these rules, and then I imagine it would be a difficult situation to be like, oh, now I can, now there's no rules, but there's still some rules, obviously.
Well, we did put little water shoes on her feet, so she was allowed to run with a little bit more impunity without worrying about something. She still slipped and fell a couple little times. She was always okay. She'd run right back up to her. I'm okay. Can I go back to playing?
Okay.
Sure thing. Back she goes. So it was nice to see her level of politeness. It's like, I want you guys to know I fell, but I'm okay. Can I go back to playing now? All right. Which is, incredibly thoughtful. So I don't know how we trained that one into her. But that's the thing is, she was doing all sorts of playing in there. She was doing stomping on the water, kicking the water, punching the water, whichever way she wanted to stop the flow of the water, she could do. And she had fun trying all the different styles.
Yeah.
She didn't do every possible style. There was other stuff that kids were doing, trying to actually stand on it as it shoots up and try and block it with your feet.
Yeah.
Other people were sitting down on it. She tried it her own way. And that's the thing, it's it wasn't wrong. And that's what got me, is it wasn't what I asked you, but it was very true to the spirit, I suppose, of what I was asking you, but not in the way I intended it. So I can't call you on it. Very, very good work here, my daughter. You're
and this is the human project, or the project of language, I suppose, is figuring out how to communicate with people who are growing and learning, and they're learning in turn how to receive communication and accept instruction and accept, what does that person want me to do, and do I want to do it for them, or do I want to twist it in some way, or do I want to delight them by turning it on them or making a joke out of it or whatever. So and I think it was a great location to do that. And so I was, but still twice this week, my daughter managed to twist things around, but not in a way I can call her on it, because of either her age and innocence, or just because it's she's having fun, and that was the main goal. Even though she didn't do what I asked, she was still having so much fun. It superseded my saying, "Oh no, you didn't do what I asked you to." So it was very, very interesting in that regard to watch that growth hit and be so close to each other as they coincide. So hooray! Okay. Cool.
Other than that, I've been playing a lot of the Secret World this week, getting more lore, this and that. As I mentioned, the previous weeks, they released a whole bunch of lore, and it's all throughout the zone, so I'm going back to the zones, and I'm poking every little nook and cranny.
Now, when you collect lore, I don't remember now if we talked about this, but are you just reading... Are you just reading it and trying to absorb it yourself and remember, just reading all the stories? Or do you actually collect, books or tokens with lore?
It'll be a little floating icon sort of thing in orange color. And some creatures, it pops out of them the same way a loot would pop out of them.
Oh,
so instead of being a green or a white bag sort of thing, it's an orange little honeycomb icon.
And do you read the story? Does it come with a little story?
It comes in a part of a story. Some of them are only 4 pieces. Some of them are up to 11 pieces long.
And can you read so it's 2 sentences, and you read?
No, it's just closer to a paragraph each sort of thing.
So it's a paragraph, and then you have to. So if you find a paragraph, you read it. It doesn't make sense.
That's the thing is I wait until I get the entire thing.
Okay.
That makes me want all the pieces even more, because I deny myself this glorious full reading until I've got it all there together.
Yeah. And then once you collect it, do you always read it immediately, or do you sort of store it away?
I put myself somewhere safe. There are times when I've gotten the final piece of lore, and I'm not exactly in what's considered a safe zone, and monsters can walk up and just start smacking me around.
Well, are there libraries in the Secret World?
There are, in fact, libraries in the Secret World, but it's not for where you go to read books.
Oh, okay.
What you gain in this lore stuff represents the buzzing of of the bees that made you the supernatural character you are.
Okay.
The beginning of your story, it happens when you are asleep and a magic bee crawls down your throat, I suppose is the best way to explain it.
Okay.
And it unleashes your access to anima, which is like the magical force of humanity and other things of our age.
Okay.
There are things that are not of our age that use stuff other than anima. Be careful of them. But yes, so that's why it has a honeycomb icon on it. When you're looking at it, it represents the buzzing of the bees as they tell you things.
Okay.
Very good. Very in almost all cases. Apparently, there's some people arguing it's like this one piece, written for, I think it's ghouls, isn't written in the same tone and style as you wrote the other stuff in for. It's like, do whatever. It's a good story. I'm enjoying this reading.
Okay.
It might be a little drier, a little bit more clear-cut style, but that's not a bad thing. But
is there lore behind the lore? Like, is there like sort of an author character that you're a narrator, or is it just?
Well, there is like an author, like a head author who writes this sort of stuff.
Like in the game, like a character.
Well, that's the actual like programmer, like sort of like lore editor guy. But what it is supposed to be the grand unified the bees is what is like a one like a voice sort of thing.
So the bees are like a conscious entity. Like they're sort of.
It's somewhere between magical gestalt and communal entity. Yeah.
Okay. Cool. Well, that's rad.
It's very good. Like, and that's the thing is like even if you're not big on the setting for it, you can still go to the various wikis and whatnot and find the lore written down. I technically don't need to find them. I just enjoy finding them because I find it makes it that much richer. It's, I guess, the same reason why the various cereal mascots try and steal food from people, as opposed to going to the grocery store, paying for it, and eating it legitimately. There's something about the chase that makes it all the more richer, right?
All right.
And I enjoy it. And technically, I get some rewards. I suppose if I get all the lore for this bestiary stuff, I get like a title, like the Professor of Parazoology.
Now,
it's a pretty good title. If
you
you
just simply have to have the items in your possession, or do you
well,
have
the thing,
to
it's not an
click
item.
to the end and read, or what?
It's not even an item. It just unlocks there's a tab for achievements in lore. If I kill 10,000 zombies, then I've gotten so many points off of that, and I get a title. I think it's called Romero.
Okay. For
the zombies, and yeah, when you get the lore, it just unlocks that part of it in there. It's not. So
you're kind of looking into your character's memory then.
Yeah. It's just because apparently you've got a really good memory on this sort of thing. I know I've killed 6,243 zombies.
But what I was sort of asking, I don't know, but sometimes in like World of Warcraft, for example, people will play the game and they'll just click to the end of quests. It's like, yeah, accept. Don't read it. Just click to the end.
Which you could do for many of them here. That said, I was just doing a few mainline quests in the Kingsmith zone, the first one, so I could get my the achievement and do 15 main quests this week and gain some points. And so I was doing that, and one of them, every main quest starts with a cutscene, which is part of why it's such a different style. You can skip the cutscene if you want, but in this case, I was doing one where fortune teller, she was a fraud before things went bad. Now she's legit, and it's kind of a spooky thing for her. She's getting visions, and if you skip the cutscene, you don't know where to go because she told you where you're supposed to go in the cutscene. Good luck finding where you're supposed to be now, buddy.
Yeah, that can happen.
Yeah. The tip of Pyramid Point is where I was supposed to go. I've done the quest long enough. I know the order which everything goes. That said, unless I'm really short on time, I don't skip the cutscenes. I enjoy seeing. That's what makes the setting. You get to learn about these people because they have a voice, they have a style, how each of them works. And so, yeah, unless it's like, geez, I got to get this stuff done before I go to bed tonight, so I'll load up and skip this up quickly. I don't skip any of the loading scenes.
Right.
But you could, I suppose, if you're doing like walkthroughs. But if you're just doing a walkthrough, you're kind of losing out on a big facet of the game.
Okay, yeah.
That said, I believe it should still be on a Steam sale. You can get everything for about $12 right now. Oh wait, no, never mind. It's Sundays it's Mondays we're recording this, not Sunday. So the Steam sale will likely be over. Sorry about that. I got your hopes up for nothing.
I'm sure there will be more in the future.
There are. And this is the sort of thing where if I had some extra spare cash, I'd get the bundle for the whole thing for Steam, for its low, like 3/4 off price as a gift and just send it off to someone I know. Because it's the sort of thing where it's like, hey, I think you might enjoy this.
Mm-hmm.
It's not for everybody, but if you think it's for somebody, get it when it's 75% off. Not that expensive. Everyone has fun. Hooray!
Cool.
So yeah. Oh, and I read a wonderful little. It was kind of like part infographic, part little like analysis. It was the analysis of creepypasta. For those who don't know, it would be like short little like amateur written horror fiction. And a person, this blessed, wonderful person, read 100 different, like creepypastas. Found all the most popular ones based on like how many got shared through different sites and links and whatnot and popularity, and analyzed them for like connected trends. First person, perspective, like I did this and then this happened to me, yada yada. Stuff, like murders, cliffhangers, creepy images, creepy videos, and all that stuff. And she was able to find 7, connected factors for all of them. Now, she did have to rule a few of the most popular ones out because they didn't fit the format of what she was analyzing. She's a true scientist in this regard. She analyzed stories and what they had as opposed to stuff like Slender Man, which started off as 2 images and then people wrote stories based off of them. And so Slender Man, and I think it was Jeff the Killer was the other one, had to get excluded out because they're not in the right format, despite being the most prolific and well-known of the creepypastas. I mean, there have been people that have committed crimes like murder and arson off the Slender Man mythos. And so, anyways, what she was able to find was those 7 factors. I'm not going to read it all for you, sort of thing. Find it and look it up yourself.
I'll look it up and put a link in our show notes.
I do have it saved myself. I want to give it a second read, so I guess I'll throw that to you, and then you can put up in show notes.
Okay.
And what she found was all the top 10 had at least one factor of these 7 reoccurring, attributes. No one of them had all 7, and that most of them averaged out at 4 of the factors. So it was a very interesting way of analyzing the entire thing and showing like what you have and how much to put in and how much not to put in. Like stuff such as like creepy videos was the least popular of these 7 factors analyzed because not everyone can make a good creepy video, right?
Okay.
Stuff like Squidward's suicide, and I think there's one with Mickey Mouse. Wound up being in there. Otherwise, if it wasn't for them, it would have just been 6 factors, or she would have had to pick up a different 7th. But they do really help with the virality of it, because it's easy just doing, hey, sit here and watch this for a little bit, okay?
Yeah.
And Millie, some of the other stuff like, let's see, it was the creepy images was also one of the least popular as well, because not everyone can do that. Smile Dog and Abandoned by Disney are good examples of good creepy images that are easily done, but not everyone has either the technical know-how or the inspiration to create that creepy image, because if you don't get it just right, creepy looks really dorky when you do it wrong.
Right. Yeah.
And so I can understand people not including that in. It does, but that's the thing. There's even like a subpart of the article saying why it's good to have an image, because your brain can process images much more clear and much faster than reading. Because of how like the human brain is wired, an image processes deeper, quicker in our brain than something such as a series of words, because words have to be something you have to understand and utilize that way. And so I found it to be just a really fascinating read. One, because, I like creepypasta, and the examples were stuff I haven't read all the time. So it's like, hey, I got some good vetted creepypasta, which was great quality. And I was able to, analyze, I think it was even the title of the thing is How to Build a Better Slender Man.
Oh, yeah, sure.
and seeing what to work for and what really hits nerves with people. It's a very good analysis of creepypasta.
Well, one of the things, like, it's recommended, I know people recommend as a tool to overcome writer's block or whatever, is to grab, sort of two ingredients or two of the 7 and just put them together and see what happens. Or, like, that's your springboard for your ideas.
Well, very much so, yeah. But yes, I won't go into too much more with this, because, like, as you said, we'll link it up with the show notes. Yep. And I think it's a really good read, although that might be my personal perspective. I do enjoy a good analysis sort of work. But that said, it does contain links to, some of the best examples of each particular, bit being shown. I mentioned, as well as to the various main wikis that have creepypasta. So if you want to read some more creepypasta, like the examples provided, I got a chance to read some ones I hadn't read before. Quite good quality. And then, if that gets your whistle wet, then there's even more at the various wiki sites and whatnot linked and shown. So hooray! There's your in for even more reading. So yeah, my week involved a lot of short story reading, effectively. So that was definitely not a loss by my standards.
Cool. It's all right.
But we do have a main topic.
Yeah, our main topic.
It was something we were mentioning to ourselves before the podcast. On it.
Yeah.
On how there's different kinds of friends and allies in games. Like, earlier...
So, like in Dungeons and Dragons, or...
and various other games, too. Yeah. Like, we mentioned the Civilization series of games there. There are times when you have allies, but they're only allies until you gain up enough forces that you can, overwhelm them or attack someone without fear of them, reprising against you.
Depending on your playstyle, yeah.
Yeah, there's times when you want to have the friends with these guys, so that way you can prevent a unified enough power block so that when you know that these I'll say India, because there's that whole recurring thing with Gandhi going absolutely crazy angry with bloodlust once he gets nukes, right? Mm-hmm. So why, you've got India, you guys both share a border with India, and that time is coming. You're going to want some allies to help take out Gandhi when he goes bug nut. In which case, it's not like you have any real love for them, because it's not like it's a person, it's another nation, something to take over in the game as you get your global conquest on. But they're useful to have as your friend, air quotes friend, because they're more of an ally. And that's the thing is there does have that various levels of sincerity and usefulness in amongst the various games. You sometimes see in one format you don't see in another. And I think it's a very interesting topic. How about you there, Josh? Hopefully this is going to interest you as well.
Yeah, I'm interested in friends and allies. I guess I was thinking of it in terms of D&D because when you make a friend or ally, as opposed to like everything
killing one more thing.
Yeah, everything that you meet, you kill. There is a bit of a problem in the game for a dungeon master, and he can solve it, and he has a lot of ways to solve it. But it is a problem that you have to think about. Is that the characters then can sort of manipulate that, and suddenly have an army of pixies or something like that that's loyal to them.
Well, so that's the thing. That's one of the things I noticed about the various editions of the Monster Manual as time progresses on. There's less weird, neutral, or beneficial characters in there. Yeah. Second edition, I remember flipping through and seeing the Swan May and just having to pause for a second because it's like, I haven't seen the Swan May in, so very long. I guess for the people there, Swan May is kind of like the Swan Maiden from the classical play. It's a lady that can turn into a swan.
Okay.
I guess
so. It's not really a monster under some definitions, but it's not really.
Well, it does very much follow in with like lycanthropes. Or technically therianthropes, because lycanthropes is only supposed to be for the werewolves.
Well, it's a shape changer, yes, but is it like sort of full moon related, spread by biting and that sort of?
No, it's very much like a genetic condition. You're either born with it or you're not.
Okay, then I wouldn't call it lycanthropy.
But it does have that similar attribute where you change from shape A to shape B.
Yeah, okay.
Although, admittedly, the usefulness of changing into a swan is debatable. I mean, I think in this case it's actually not bad. Here, let me just... Because, yes, I actually have my 2nd edition monster manual within a quick reach.
Yeah, well, it makes sense for doing a gaming podcast.
No, like, even if I wasn't doing a podcast, it'd still be within that close reach. That's just the kind of dude I am, apparently. But I think it might be that in the Swan form can only be hit by magical weapons, which is not a bad thing. Not that hard, but, and all that. Let's see here. In Swan form, only harmed by +1 or better magical items. Human form, Swan May functions as a ranger. The effective level is 2d6. Attack with whatever weapons on hand. But it is not exactly what you'd consider to be a very powerful creature, right?
It's more powerful than I thought it would be.
They got bird maidens, which have kind of like a more tropical feel to them, sort of thing. Which overlaps well, I suppose, with the Bird Maiden's card from Magic the Gathering, done by Kasia Foglio, I believe, of some well-known artistic repute. But that's the thing, is like the only bit that they really contributed to the greater D&D world is that items are unaffected by Swan May's shape-changing, so they must be hidden, sort of thing. And that's a bit, it's like their items, stay with them. Their magical nature stays with them when they shape change, which is something they had a lot of arguments about in 3rd edition and beyond as to what happens with your magic items.
Okay.
Swan Mace at least gave the precedent. It's like, dude, you shape change, your magic items, stay active on you.
Okay. Yeah.
So that was really about all they've added mechanics wise. But it would make it would make a very nice, unique sort of NPC ally to have. Not everyone needs Deckard Cain like the Diablo series is your source of information. Sometimes a bird maiden would make a very nice sort of thing. A little easier to converse with than I suppose unicorns. Because dude, this talking magic horse is weird. But this one that changes into a lady, well, that's a very sort of mythological style, and I can clearly converse with her because, when she's a person, she's got a person's mouth, so we can talk very, very easily that way. As opposed to dude, this talking magic horse is crazy. I can buy the magic and all that because I'm in a magical world, but the talking horse, that's a little weird. So it does have some nice benefits that way. And that's the thing is, you go through the old monster manuals, you do see more creatures that are ally friendly to the PCs than you would see in later editions.
Yeah.
And I can understand why. You do want to get the most amount of use off every page, right?
Yep.
And the most use is usually going to wind up involving the things you're going to throw up against the PCs and have them smack back and forth. Or at least summon, sort of things. So the summonable creatures that you see in the later editions could wind up being fairly useful. You're not always going to have elementals just wandering around the landscape, but they're going to get summoned at some point in a campaign, and it's kind of nice to have the stats for them.
That's true, yeah. And so a summoned creature is contained within the mechanics of a spell, so it's manageable more. It's balanceable, I guess.
Which would be nice to have seen for something like the genies and all that. Summon a genie sort of thing, use it for an information source as well. Genie will either attack things for you, answer some questions, or perform some tasks.
Yeah. I will say, I haven't really run a lot of high-level games, but I know that you can run into a few of these interesting, exploitations that players can use. I can summon this creature or that creature, and I get basically infinite bonuses or something like that. So,
mind you, in 5th edition, they've done very well at trying to prevent that sort of stuff from happening. That said, I don't think it hasn't been a person who's created a spell-casting person for their player and hasn't at some point thought, what if I summon a fire elemental and a water elemental and tell them to run at each other? What happens then?
Just run at each other?
Yeah, what happens if you have them smack into each other? Because it is the D&D equivalent of getting a anti-particle collision going on, right?
I guess so. I mean, there's overrun, there's charge. They do both have slam attacks, so technically running their body into the other would be a slam. So I suppose they would roll initiative against each other, and each would deal damage according to the slime attack.
But their antithetical nature doesn't cause any sort of weird fun to happen? Like, say, putting like a bag of holding in a portable hole, or vice versa? There's rules for that. There's been rules for that for 5 editions now.
Well, I don't remember offhand whether water elementals are immune or not to fire damage.
Do they cause some sort of weird steam thing where, like the two of them get together and they wind up causing like a area anyone around it winds up taking steam damage?
I mean, I would describe such a fight as there being a lot of steam involved, yes.
So you get them, it's like, okay, I'm going to have them run up next to this otherwise invulnerable badass, and we're going to have them fight each other, and then the steam's going to render this guy like a turkey in a crock pot.
I wouldn't have it have that much effect, though. It would just be, like, kind of foggy. So it would be more effective to just use a fog cloud spell, for example.
Oh, but that's no fun. That's not tactically as crazy.
Your idea of fun is just, like, I don't know. Well, I do enjoy that, too, about
I won't lie, it does have a bit of an older, crazier style to it, because, like, I come from editions whereby there's random tables for mixing 2 potions together to see what happens.
Yeah.
Potion missability tables, I miss them so much. There were tables, there were rules for that sort of thing. So I want like a positive energy elemental and a negative energy elemental, and I want them to run into each other. Like, what, you never thought about trying to create like a D&D, like like positron, accelerator, or like a large hadron collider sort of thing? No? That's just me, eh?
I want to yes and you, but also D&D has constraints, so.
And yet it seems like one of the things whereby you'd have to like homebrew the rules as it happens.
Yeah, and that's the other thing. Like, okay, yeah, it's a third level spell to summon an elemental, another 3rd level spell, like, and then suddenly magically you get a 9th level spell effect out of it, like, nuclear reaction or whatever, or, antimatter annihilation generates all this energy.
You'd have some fun with it. It's not going to help you out, but like it'd be the same thing as like taking the staff of the Archmagi and cracking it over your knee. There's rules for that. Or at least historically there have been.
Yeah, there are rules for that.
Big, bad, boom, fun stuff. But oh boy, try it. I dare you. It's hilarious. But that's the thing, though. Is like that's clearly a misuse of allies.
Yeah. Well, I mean, is it?
I could see some elemental forces coming back at you. After your repeated summoning attempts to try and recreate this positronic collider in D&D format. Coming in to try and put a stop to your shenanigans.
I probably wouldn't have that happen.
Well, there's no like Society for the Protection of Cruelty to Elementals?
No, they're fine with it. They're just, they don't even think about it.
What a harsh world you live in, Josh.
Yeah, I guess.
You're not even going to entertain the notion of the SPCE?
Well, here's the thing, like, I don't know why you pick out this particular example, because if you're summoning elementals to go and fight goblins, or to go and fight other, go check out dungeons and stuff and maybe get squished or whatever, then...
Which, by the way, I would like seeing rules on the more squishability of the water elemental than other elementals.
Yeah, I suppose.
An earth elemental shouldn't squish, but I could definitely see a water elemental, like, having like, some sort of immunity, or at least heavy resistance to, say, bludgeoning.
Well, I will say, though, like, water is technically not that compressible.
No, but it does...
It flows out into a different shape when you hit it with something. But yeah, if you're actually trying to crush it somewhere, like, depending on what actually holds the water...
Should a water elemental take full damage off, like, a falling block trap?
Well, maybe, because it might be held... the magic that holds it together... might require sort of a certain shape, but no, not entirely, because you need the platonic idea of water is that it flows and adapts. So you would have some. I would say you'd have some resistance against that.
Meanwhile, like a falling earth trap sort of thing, that causes like a bit of a landslide, that is like almost completely lethal to the fire elemental. Because you bury that under dirt, and congratulations, man. You've just followed, Smokey's first law of, forest fire prevention.
That is kind of interesting. Like, although the rules say fire elementals don't have to breathe, so technically they don't need oxygen.
But how do they combust? It's a fire elemental. There's got to be some sort of combustion. They should definitely need oxygen. They don't breathe, but they do effectively need oxygen, right?
Like maybe they have their own oxygen supply within.
Wait. Does this mean you could summon like a fire elemental in the plane of water now? Is that a thing? Because you couldn't used to do that.
In 3rd edition, I believe you can. There might be a % chance of failure, but...
back in stuff like 2nd edition, it was like, fire spells do not function on the elemental plane of water. You can't summon that fire... You can't cast a fireball spell in the elemental plane of water.
I think it might depend on your DM, but I think in 3rd edition, something like it describes the fireballs being cast underwater just creates superheated water.
Well, I mean, why not have a new spell for that?
Well, because then your wizard would be less useful because you'd have to learn a whole.
It's almost as though going to another plane of existence requires some sort of forethought and planning.
Well, not even plane of existence, but just if casting underwater. Like, if you cast a fireball underwater, what happens?
Well, they had rules for that, They had rules for that.
And yeah, well, they just have different rules, and different editions have their own.
Magic lightning used to bounce. You know that?
Yes, yeah. I remember that. Yeah.
Throw a lightning bolt against the wall and it'll rebound. You're playing some sort of weird, crazy game of 3D ping pong going on there. It was hilarious. Especially when you have to try and get someone to start working out the angles. Oof.
If you're the DM and you find your players have a whole bunch of allies and they're building sort of an army and stuff, like what sort of tricks would you use to either get rid of the allies or have them do something else? What would
Division, subversion, and non-combat allies.
Uh-huh.
Not every ally is going to march into battle with you.
Yeah.
I mean, heck, just look at how much effort it took to get in Lord of the Rings to get the Treants, the March of the Ents to go actually to war.
Mm-hmm.
You had to cut down an old forest, a beautiful forest for that. C'est la vie. It was their undoing, I suppose, for both sides. I mean, it was kind of like the last thing the Ents did, right? After that, they decided to head off to see if they could find the Entwives, and they kind of just left their old home, if I'm not mistaken. So yeah, that's another thing you could wind up doing is making them effectively a one-time use. Like, they'll fight for you that once. But thereafter, their distaste for war means things have changed and they're going off now.
And what if players, there are rules for hiring, mercenaries,
soldiers.
Oh,
yes, I've used and exploited that so many times.
And what if, as a DM, are you, does that bother you? Or are you okay, well, or...
it doesn't bother me too much because, one, cheap, mercenary NPCs are not good mercenary NPCs.
Okay.
You can buy a lot of really untalented thugs for a fairly decent rate, but don't expect too much out of them. You want good quality, that's going to cost you.
Okay, so they're going to...
I'm going to say up to 3rd level you can easily hire. Other than that, it's going to wind up being specialty, case by case, or, one hirings.
Okay, so it's, basically it's not going to be that useful or good, but it's for certain situations it would.
It could be very useful, yes. Otherwise, I do believe most local law authorities take a very big notice when somebody starts hiring a small army.
Yeah, I believe that.
I think there may even wind up being some nice local laws about who is allowed to assemble certain amounts of people for the purposes of war. Yeah. You don't have a license or a thing for that? Well, you have to kind of leave our country or go on some sort of quest to earn the royalties' favor.
Okay, yeah, and it opens up another quest. Yeah.
There you go.
Like
Which would be that's the reward. You don't even give them money; it's just the right to assemble an army on peaceful terms with the nation.
Yeah, yeah.
Although I suppose it might be difficult for them to want you on that, depending on where you're doing that. Because if you're assembling that on the border, I've got a large army, and right over on the other side is another nation. They might not be happy with this army that's suddenly growing.
Yeah, true.
So, king, I'll say in this case, might say, hey, don't assemble an army too close to their borders because I have to put out that fire you're starting. And depending on how the king says it, it might involve a guillotine. It's don't start anything.
I guess the other thing you have to worry about is, depending on how hands-on you are, if you start hiring an army or whatever, you better hope that the commanders that you hire are going to be loyal to you, because they might just decide, or they might get bribed by someone else, or charmed or whatever, and then suddenly your army, that's not your army anymore.
That is just a rather large chunk of XP coming your way.
Jeez, now you... yeah.
Yeah. Well, like you hired a lot of them, but they weren't very good. But I'm still back in second edition mentality after having the monster manual in my hand. So there were 15 to 35 experience points apiece. Your commanders are 65 to 120. By golly, it sounds like dinner time to me.
Yeah. Well, I was kind of thinking of like if you didn't happen to be there, but then it probably doesn't matter because the DM can just handle it narratively and say, the army went off.
And then they ransacked the town while you were gone.
Yeah.
You're responsible for it.
Yeah. And then so yeah.
Why did you leave an army alone without you as the head, though? What?
Well, the PCs went off to raid a dungeon. It was urgent. They got a message from some wizard who was trapped in a dungeon.
I hope the wizard paid very well, because you got a lot of reparations to give to this town.
Yeah, the PCs are coming back loaded with treasure. Like, what a great haul. Gee, the town doesn't look so good.
There's a lot of fires going on in the town.
There's like an army camped over there.
You suppose was there a festival going on? Why is there so many fires going on over there? No, those are raiding fires. Whoops. And
then what do you do with your army? Then you meet the commanders, and do they fess up to it, or do they?
We raided it just as you told us not to. Wink, wink. Ha ha. We got your message, sir.
Or do they get a little hostile? They say,
They were giving us lip, sir. You should have heard what they said as soon as you left town. We're not our army. We got our pride. And now they got smolder and ruins. No one's going to be bad-mouthing you when your back's turned. Don't worry, we got you.
Or do they, surround you and, point this circle with spears around you?
That's some nice-looking gold you got there. Sir. About time to start giving out dividends, eh? Sir? Yeah? Because keep in mind, in most editions, sort of thing, a 20 is a critical hit. So they get 40 archers on you. That's going to be 2 guaranteed hits. No matter what your AC is every round. If you're just coming back from a fight, you might not have a lot of spells and a lot of healing. A lot of hit points to yourself. So you wind up getting robbed by your own army.
Yeah.
I do recall one storyline in the Knights of the Dinner Table where the players found an interesting thing about how many dogs a town would have. And the number was pretty darn high, and dogs are pretty darn cheap.
Yeah.
So they assembled a whole lot of dogs for a very reasonable price, and things went bad, and they wound up dying, but the dogs did not. Yeah. And then you've got this rather large pack of hounds with no leader. And they wound up ravaging the countryside for a period of years. And what they do is they, this death pack would wind up going in, killing all the humans in a town, and they'd recruit more dogs. And because of how the stats were, how many dogs are in a town, they would gain a net positive. They'd lose dogs every time they attacked a town, but they'd gain more dogs again. And it wound up taking a cabal of wizards, and a lot of foot soldiers to eventually end the Doom Pack. So, there's some nice, I won't say D&D because it is a Hackmaster style, but there's some nice pseudo D&D style whereby, mooks run amok can wind up generating a positive feedback loop on themselves, according to the numbers.
And this reminds me of a thought I had too about allies and stuff. Is if you enter a dungeon and you sort of make a peace or a truce with a creature for some, in some way.
We'll take the Sunken Citadel, for example. The classic adventure published at the beginning of 3rd edition's run, wherein the kobold Meepo was, I believe it was his first appearance, was it?
I don't know, yeah. Probably.
Well, Meepo makes appearances throughout 3rd edition and some other sources and all that fun stuff.
Yeah.
But he was supposed to be like watching the little, I think it was a white dragon.
Oh, yeah.
And like the dragon gets, free and loose sort of thing, and then there's poor Meepo left behind, willing to do anything to try and get the dragon back and try and get in good graces. And then he's only got 2 hit points.
Yeah.
And that's the thing is most player characters I sent through there had absolutely no desire or heart to try and kill poor little Meepo. It's just one, kobold like NPC, right?
Okay. Yeah.
That said, about half the party, after befriending him, had him go first down the corridors to potentially set off any traps with Meepo's 2 hit points.
All right.
Which
They exploit him, basically.
Very, very much so. That's the thing, effectively enslaving the poor little thing.
Yeah. So I was thinking, like, as far as a monster is concerned, sometimes it's like you don't feel right having a monster sort of stab the characters in the back, or vice versa, have the characters kill a monster. But at the same time, sometimes that makes sense just from a perspective of somebody who's a little bit paranoid of like, and it might not even be that, oh, this monster will turn on me. It's just that there are more powerful monsters who will be able to get information out of this creature and find out where I am or something.
And that's the thing, is like by having Meepo befriended in there, you can have a series of events whereby you can gain I won't call it a proper alliance. It's not like you and the kobolds become buddies, but it does become a non-aggression pact between them and you, so that you can focus your attacks on like the goblins in the Sunken Citadel, which lead further on into your adventure. So like I said, I don't want to call them allies because there's not really any goodwill. It's just that you both have a very good cause to be attacking the same sort of thing. Yeah. So, think about this as like the Kobold Queen. In this case, is a bunch of adventurers come in and say, we want to attack your sworn enemies. Like why would you attack them? When you can just say, fine, we'll let you go peacefully through our land as long as you don't try anything. And, if the PCs wipe out the goblins, well, then there goes your old foe. If the goblins wipe out the PCs, well, at least the goblins became weaker in the process. So it's a win-win no matter how much you go. If the PCs wipe, you can even say, depending how far they got, there was enough to weed down the goblin numbers that the kobolds make a final surge and sweep out and get the Sunken Citadel all to themselves.
Nice.
There's definitely tactical advantages for that in a dungeon setting, but I wouldn't necessarily call them allies.
Right. And can I follow up on that point a little bit too?
Sure thing, definitely.
There's a degree of alliedness, I suppose. But it's funny because as soon as you sort of take sides with a person, sometimes you don't intend to be, okay, now we're best friends all of a sudden, because technically an alliance can happen between people who don't even like each other a lot. But it's weird because almost as soon as you make a temporary alliance or a ceasefire or whatever, you're almost forced into a much closer relationship, and you do become you can't help but become friends. Like, for example, here's another example.
Okay.
There's a movie, I don't know if I can't remember what movie in particular. It might happen in a couple movies. Our hero is in a situation, there's somebody taking hostages or whatever, and he's in a bank, and there's one lady he doesn't even know who they took her hostage and they're going to kill her.
Oh, I think a good example for something like that would be Speed.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. And I think Speed works because then what happens? Our hero, he steps up and he saves her or something, or
he's trying to save the day.
And then the bad guys will be like, "Oh, I see you care about this girl. Is it your girlfriend?" Well, it was a total stranger, but now, just because he's taken that action to intervene for a stranger, there is some kind of connection between them.
I do believe in the end of the Speed, they wind up having some sloppy makeouts. They even put a little lampshade on it, saying that relationships that begin under periods of duress like that are usually doomed to failure. And then they go out making out some more, sloppy kisses for everyone, except the bad guy who's now dead.
Yeah.
But that's the thing is, strangers can wind up becoming, cared ones. I won't say loved ones until like the very end when like the passions are unveiled.
Yeah,
right?
But it's still surprising how fast a connection can be. Like how fast suddenly now we're working.
She
together.
was Sandra Bullock after all. Who
and I
wouldn't?
guess the other thing is if you share a language and a culture, or if you see that it's like in a world of orcs, two humans see each other. Okay, we're on side Team Human. I guess we're together. Or
it is an intrinsic part of humanity to try and find an us versus them, for better or worse mentality. It exists.
And even in terms of nationality, like if you're two, English is pretty common in the world. But
you don't even need nationality. Just go to like an elementary school, and then you just like, oh, boys are yucky and girls got cooties sort of thing. They just wind up finding some way to divide.
I guess like the other thing is Canadians visiting Australia or whatever. So the Canadians will often find each other. I don't know if they're the, instant best friends or whatever. Well, sometimes they are. Sometimes that works.
Sometimes it works, especially when you got something like, oh boy, how about those American tourists you guys got coming in? They bad here in Australia as they are over in Canada, and you wind up sharing stories against the us versus them.
Yeah,
like this Commonwealth set of nations versus those darn Yanks.
I remember our friend of the show who we had on one time, Troy.
Yes.
He mentioned that when he was in Australia, it was the New Zealanders, Canadians, and Irish, I think, who hung out together, while the Brits, Americans, and Australians hung out together. It just seemed to be or was that? I think that was Troy. He called it the little brother syndrome.
Very interesting. Even though we're technically bigger than America. Not population-wise, of course, but land-wise. That's very interesting.
Although now I think it might have been my uncle and not Troy, but I'll attribute it to
I guess
Why not?
I guess it doesn't really matter who does it, so long as the story, the anecdote is true. That's just very interesting.
Okay, yeah. So sorry to side.
But that's the thing is, it's like there does seem to be an innate part of finding an us versus them, which in D&D is something that doesn't happen a lot. If it's not like you and your other three players, everyone's potential experience point, source. Everyone's a potential enemy. Rah. Even to the point, back in like second edition, where as I've mentioned before, like they'll buy in, cows just to smack them around until they're dangerous, so that it qualifies as a proper fight, and you get experience points off it.
Mm-hmm.
Otherwise, the best source of like high-level NPCs you could find would be in the abattoir, where they slaughter cattle for like 8 hours a day, and that's a lot of experience points, man. Woo!
And also, I found in my computer a little while ago, I had sort of a hierarchy of I don't know what you call it, evil, but it's like barbarians, then orcs and goblinoids, then demons, and then far realm creatures. So each level, like if you're fighting with some barbarians and orcs show up, you might join the barbarians and fight the orcs.
Maybe. I put barbarians / Vikings, otherwise like the outside invaders.
Yeah.
So it'd be the outside invaders as humans, outside invaders as not quite humans, the demi-humans, as the older editions called them. Mm-hmm. And then you had outside, invaders from another plane of reality.
Yeah.
And then outside invaders from another, cosmic portfolio.
Yeah. So, like, if you were fighting orcs and, like, a bunch of demons showed up, I mean, I guess it depends, but I'm picturing one scenario would be you team up with the orcs against the demons.
It depends on the demon in this case. Given that they are followers of a dark god, it might be that the demon's there to help them.
Yeah, I guess it could be.
That said, if it winds up being, like, say, a lawful evil demon, like something from the Nine Hells, then, these, pink skins are bad, but you know what? Taking out a minion, our god's foes, that might be even more, noble and worthy in the orcish eyes.
Yeah.
Maybe. But I do see, your how it has like different ripples as to how far they are removed from you as to where they qualify for more likely to fight for or against.
Yeah.
Like especially when you go to like the far realm sort of thing, I could definitely see orcs fighting on your side to fight back the forces of the far realms, and maybe even being able to conscript demons and devils into aiding you.
Yeah.
It'll cost you, because it always does, but you could get it to happen.
Yeah.
And don't try and get both of them together, because, I mean, like, I was talking about, like, throwing fire elementals and water elementals at each other to cause an explosion. You want a big explosion, you put demons and devils next to each other, and, just watch as the blood war ignites up again. That's powder keg, baby.
So what's the difference? Let me ask you this. What's the difference between you bringing an ally along on one of your quests versus an ally recruiting you to come along on one of his quests, his or her quests?
Well, I guess it'd be a dominant sort of thing. Like, if you're able to bring, we'll say, Tim the Wizard with you, then because he's with you, you have the lead. You've got upper hand on this.
But I suppose it might just matter, like, whose quest do you choose to, like, there's quests available, like, so it's not like you wouldn't necessarily go on a, like, you think
whose cause are you fighting for? Tim's fighting on behalf of your cause, so thus you are at the head, he follows you. Whereas if you're going into the arcane bowels sort of thing, at Tim's behest, then you do as he says because you're fighting his fight.
Yeah, and that makes sense because you would defer to him because, like, he knows what he's up against, and he was the one who asked you for your help, so you're like, He better
be prepared, otherwise Tim is not going to be in your good book of friends.
Right. And I suppose, like, maybe if it's your quest, you sort of take all the treasure and give Tim, a flat sum payment plus a bonus for danger
or shares.
Or whatever.
So, like, depending on how you go, you could go with different shares.
Yeah. But then is Tim just a party member after that? Just a...
Oh, it depends. Like the GMPC, as the saying goes, right?
No, actually, yeah, I should ask, like, do you remember in The Hobbit, was The Hobbit? Yeah, where they write up a contract and everything, like, this is the company of Thorin Oakenshield.
Yes.
I wonder, like, in D&D, have you ever done that? Have you ever had, like, a...
Nothing quite so grandiose as what actually is written down.
Yeah.
But I remember when I was getting my brother Jason and his friends into D&D, yes, they expressed interest. Me and my friends deemed them junior partners in our current thing, and thus they got half share as opposed to our full share. So, it was 4 of them, 4 of us. So it was effectively 6 shares, and they only got 2 shares between the 4 of them.
That's interesting. That you can have members who are player characters who might have different statuses within the group
because they were younger in real life and thus more gullibly naive.
Yeah. I like that. Although, like, I imagine like a group that just comes together, or even.
Oh, they also did not get first pick on magic items for their share of the loot.
Right.
Yeah. They got our dregs.
What happens to your typical gaming group is that it ends up being the player characters are sort of by default just the members of the organization or whatever. I guess that's the easiest way to do it.
Well, so that's the weird thing is in a lot of cases, like the players, as like their group is not even like a dedicated group with a name or anything like that. They're just like 4 crazy murder hobos going from spot to spot.
That happens. Does that appeal to you, the idea of having an official organization, or does that sound too much?
It appeals to me on the basis that it should help solidify party unity and thus party tactics.
Yeah.
All too often, especially in D&D, I've seen fights where it's really just 4 separate people attacking on one cohesive front, as opposed to 4 people acting in concert.
And do you...
mind you, that's not just D&D. I've also seen that in superhero stuff, which actually fits a little bit better with their style for superheroes.
Yeah.
Each one doing their own thing, right?
Individualistic,
yeah. Where you'd expect, especially with something like X-Men, they'd have like a cohesive team, like units. You'd want to have Cyclops in the back, sort of thing, pulling both the commanding rank as well as like ranged attacks. Someone like Wolverine, maintaining a proper front, and other people like working interference. Gambit doing like a mid-range sort of thing should be able to do a stopgap in the back.
Okay, yeah.
But you don't always see them working with such coordinated tactics, especially in like the danger room. It's usually them just throwing up against all sorts of danger, looking all cool. The end.
Yeah, I will say about 5th edition. I noticed that because 5th edition D&D has it has what are they called? Motivations and backgrounds and a couple other things.
Ideals
and
flaws.
some of those actually do relate a little bit to how you do tactically, and I think one of them is like,
my flaw, I never back down from a fight.
Yeah, that's one.
Which you can actually get inspiration from, being a stupid fight everything. Like, damn it, I've got 4 hit points. Why am I getting into a bar fight?
I remember there being one like you're always loyal to your friends, or even one is like
the more positive ones you're thinking of.
I don't know if this was official, but you pick a new relationship attribute for each other member of your party, and you can roll on a table, and it says, oh, this party member I once saved his life. This party member...
I think that might be more Unearthed Arcana, but it is a nice way of interlinking the players together to create that more solid bond.
Yeah, exactly. And sort of like, this player I trust implicitly. This player I think he's hiding something from me. So you can play those. And then I think at some point I got an aspect that basically said, like, I'm going to do whatever this person decides, or like I see them as sort of a leader. So it's like that gives the party that connection.
So you're the paladin, and you've rolled with the rogue that you assume as some sort of leader.
Yeah,
yay!
Basically. Yeah.
That's okay. It's not as bad as it used to be. It used to be that paladins got penalized for the actions of the other players, which is admittedly maybe not the best notion in a group party. So they have fixed that in 5th edition.
Mm-hmm.
So yay! You don't manage to lose your paladin hood because of what someone else does, which is nice.
Is it like, what if? Here's a question: what if you have a character who is more loyal? Maybe he has a bloodline or something, but he's more loyal to someone outside the party than he is to the party itself.
Well, it's a good way to cause contention and story, affecting character growth.
It's just more stories.
It's like, like a paladin following his... Well, I guess you could work either paladin following a king or paladin following, say, like a pope-like figure. And if the pope says, like, hey, there being infidels, you got to start laying the smackdown on them, well, then apparently the paladin's going to have to, fight a little bit of the NPCs, either verbally or maybe physically, depending how it goes.
Because as a DM, my natural inclination is try and steer towards party unity. So I would probably ease up a little bit on, like the Pope trying to control the paladin, saying, you have to, you can't associate with those people anymore, or you...
I know, it might be a nice way to put some pressure in things, and especially if you want to work with because let's face it, the Pope is an NPC, and all the other players are PCs. They're actually controlled by people at the table. Yeah. Such a case would be either to try and get the other players, the errant players, in line, to try and force everyone to be a little bit less self-destructive at the table, or to try and cause that grist that'll wind up causing a break between the paladin and his mentor. I won't keep using Pope. I'll just say mentor in this case.
Okay. Yeah.
That will prove the undoing in, like, I guess, the Diablo-esque style of, like, oh no, they were corrupt and controlled by demons from the inside. Yeah. Thus allowing a potentially like a good, like, oh, we were right all along because we're players. Of course we're right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's go attack the corrupted church.
But there's a risk there too that depending on your group or the people playing the characters, there's a risk that they might say, oh, okay, well, then I do, because my character would split off, and, like, he's going to leave the party or something like that. And then I guess consequences from that is...
Welcome to semi-retirement, roll up a new character.
Yeah, you just get a new character or whatever.
Yeah.
But that's a hassle, so that's why as a DM I'm
There's only one circumstance where I think it's good to split the party up. In that case, it's splitting the party into 3 or more groups, and that's when you're in Ravenloft and you're in that one domain that's being ruled by the guy who's a playwright. He has an inability to have 3 separate plays going on at once.
Oh, nice.
And thus, the best way to break the scene and get out from his trap is to split the party into at least 3 groups.
Okay, so that's the one exception.
That's the only time I support a party breaking up into individual pieces. Story, exception. I mean, if it's not going to be wind up combat sort of thing, it's just like, I'm going to go here and talk to this person, I'm going to go here and do this, I'm going to go over here and do that. Where it's more of a downtime. Then I'm not even going to count that because you're not really splitting the party, you're just doing different things during your downtime.
Although, again, as a DM, sometimes you think, oh, I have this great idea for there's going to be like some assassins who are going to attack the party when they're in town, just to mix things up or whatever. But then you end up only hitting one of the PCs.
Well, in that case, you wind up having a fun thing. Is we'll say they attack 2 out of the 4 PCs because the other 2 went other ways. Mm-hmm. Guess who suddenly has 2 temporary character sheets?
Oh, that sounds good. Okay,
and thus they wind up playing the assassins.
Yeah.
So, your job is to try and do it. And I'll give you either some good deals on your stuff, or if you want, you can actually get some experience points off of this for playing this for me, in which case all the players at the table are still rolling and they're having fun fighting each other, but in a way that's not going to impede party loyalty, because hey, they're the assassins. It's not like you didn't, unless they hired the assassins. I'll split up from the party. The assassins I hired will attack them, and then I'll collect their loot that they wouldn't let me have first pick of. And that's why you don't play a chaotic evil person at the table.
Well, although, if we'll just go down that road a little, bit, sometimes people talk about fomenting distrust between the PCs. Sometimes a dungeon master will hand a player a note and say, "You've been possessed by, you're a doppelganger."
I remember that very well in 3rd edition, getting an evil sword. Thirst for blood. You have to attack someone. I'm like I was playing like a death. Oh, I was just a fighter, but he was very much in the image of the Nayroll, the Reaper sort of style. I had the scythe and everything, and our good friend Les was playing the Paladin, and so I basically said, do I even actually need to roll? And he just no, you don't need to roll. You can roll, but we all know what the number is going to come up as. So yeah, of course I attack the the Paladin. Rah! But with the magic sword, not with my traditional scythe, and that's what tipped them off. It must not be his natural will. It must be an enhanced will.
Yeah. So you're still you're still playing your character's interests a little bit. You're seeing how you can twist your instructions. So it's like a little piece of your soul is still crying out from inside.
Let's just say it was more like the sword was a Jiminy Cricket to my Pinocchio, and less, I was being controlled like the puppet, right? Yeah. Just like, you got to attack someone, blood. Sure thing. Yeah, how was that? And, do I need to do it again? So it's like, whoa, buddy, I wasn't even asking for that much damage. Just settle back there. Yeah. But, they were able to piece together, because, admittedly, it was a little bit of a meta play to make certain that I attacked them with the sword as opposed to with my preferred scythe. Yeah. But it did get the point across.
But yeah, I will say, that's another thing as a DM I'm a bit reluctant to throw into a party is, no, I would prefer them working together, and I don't want to throw more chances for them to fight with each other. It depends on the group, I guess.
In that case, tell you what, because I think we're hitting the 90-minute mark, we will put a pin in this one for next week.
Okay.
Intelligent magic items as allies and enemies.
All right, sounds good.
Because I think that's worth its own thing. Because I think we can expand that out to not just magic items in D&D, but more like intelligent AIs in other more futuristic style settings. Mm-hmm. Okay. So I think that's worthy of our pinpoint presentation.
Sure. Okay, so social media,
yes.
thesimulationist@gmail.com is our email address. I guess that's not really social media, but it's just how to get in contact with us.
Well, it's a way to talk to us, and that's pretty social.
Okay. You can find all the show notes and everything at thesimulationist.com. Also, simulationist.blogspot.com there's a blog and stuff where you find all the show notes and everything.
Look us up over on the Facebook area.
Facebook.com/thesimulationist, YouTube.com/thesimulationist. These are places where you can type in little comments or whatever. There's other ways to find the show, and you can tell your friends all about it. Share the links on Facebook. That's an easy way to do it. Share our YouTube. You can like and favorite our YouTube channel, or however you want to do that. Not a lot of people watch the YouTube. I think more people download via iTunes.
I think we're more of an on-the-go sort of, audience.
I feel like that. Yeah. And the YouTube, there's like a picture that does nothing.
Somewhere out there is a person doing a midnight, graveyard shift, and they're working all alone, but our voice is there to keep them company. I am honored to be one of those voices.
Me too. So, I mean...
That said, you want to, if you can't get a hold of us that way sort of thing, you're just, sitting around and it's find us up on YouTube and then just listen to us in the middle of the night that way.
Yep.
That's what it's there for. It's very convenient that way, for when you need us.
We're here for you, the listeners. And we appreciate all our listeners listening and sharing and writing reviews on iTunes, subscribing on iTunes, and all that fun stuff. Oh, I'm on Twitter at Josh_Trelaffin, TRESLAFFIN is my Twitter handle, so you can hit me up on Twitter, and so forth. I think that's all the things. Oh, and Instagram, same thing. I think it's Josh. I don't know if there's an underscore now. I can't remember. But I did just recently sign up for Instagram, so that's up there.
Oh, fancy schmancy.
And, you can look us up on Patreon, too, if you want to help out with costs and stuff. That, of course, this podcast is free, but anything you feel like helping out is
if you think showing love involves spending money on us, we're not going to reprimand you on that.
That's right.
You're not wrong, from our perspective.
Exactly. Yeah. Okay. So final thoughts.
Also, the thing is like we were mentioning, like what to do with stuff like PCs. Like gaining too much power from the NPC allies.
Mm-hmm.
And I think there's various ways to go about that if you are concerned about it. It might wind up being just another level of progression for the characters as they get more powerful.
Yeah.
And that is like a representation of power, is to have the people follow you.
Yeah,
it's a
kind
of
old
power.
Editions had lists of what you could get for henchmen.
Yeah, crazy random lists. It's like, oh, hey, welcome to 10th level. These dozen people are going to come meet you in the next 4 weeks.
Yeah.
But that's the thing. Is like there's treasures that you can't get by looting. There's treasures that can't be gotten by being rolled on a table all the time. And that's like the power of people following you and doing what you say willingly. It's a power like the most DMs would love to get out of their players. So it's nice to show the love and show them what it's nice to when they hit that. It's like if they're responsible. Otherwise, it's a nice way for them to meet that tragic loss and then thus be a shunned figure. Maybe that's what they want to be. Maybe they want to be like that lone wolf that's got a troubled past about the people he couldn't keep safe when he wanted to. In which case, by all means, give him that person that will wind up meeting that tragic fate that will help spur the character into what the player wants. In which case, you might want to definitely make certain you're talking with it about the players, right?
Mm-hmm.
No one wants to suddenly have their new spouse in the game, get killed and resurrected as the undead, unless that's explicitly what they want to have for my character's spouse was taken by Dracula and turned into like a vampire themselves, and now I hunt all forms of undead. I must purge the land of their foul nature.
Yeah, I mean technically that's fair game, but yeah, you don't necessarily want to do that without
consulting
the players.
Some people want to have like that nice safe base where they come home and like, oh boy, that was a great 2 weeks of killing horrible beasties, but now I get to go back to my spouse and children. Woo!
Yeah, and I suppose like if you can take it on a mercenary level of D&D, you could sort of if you give a hint like this is playing the game of D&D is that if your character goes out and gets friends and allies in a town, it's part of his job to also protect it and ensure that measures are taken so that it can't be attacked by barbarians or whatever in the meantime. And the DM can look at that and say, well, you left it unguarded. I mean, you could have done this, and this to
You have
protect
been
them.
raiding orcs for 4 months and then you left your hometown undefended. What did you think the orcs were going to do?
Yeah. But I
they
think
might not have the intelligence of you, but they ain't stupid, buddy.
Yeah, but I think it wouldn't be fair to say just an extra planar creature just sort of came out of nowhere and just boom, your town's gone now. Cause
the randomness of that doesn't seem right. A retaliatory thing, definitely. And by all means, like if the town does get ransacked, maybe the town got taken, hostage and prisoner. They're off to the slave stuff. Then you got to go rescue them. That might be 1, 2, or even 3 different, sort of like adventure things to get the town back together. And now that everyone's back together again, but the town's in ruins, what do you do? Maybe you start fresh, start better.
Yeah, well, I think you would.
Depending on how you want to do it, maybe people just want to, I got family over here and I got stuff over there. I'll just keep wandering the land.
I've seen that plot a couple times. It's not my favorite adventure hook of like having a rescue family, like that isn't already built in the character's backstory. I suppose. Like I've always. It's
good to do once, but you don't want to have to how's that line go from Buffy? Oh, it must be Tuesday. Got to go rescue Dawn. It's not something you want to overplay. That's a good card, but not a common card. It's rare at best.
Yeah, hold it. Yeah. All right. All done.
For at least this week, we got like a semi-connected one next week.
Probably recording on Tuesday next week.
I believe so. Yes.
Yeah. So.
Well, in any which way, you'll hear from us again next week.
Yeah, I've been Josh.
I've been Ryan Kirkby.